scratch. I'm set up for drilling the 2 holes through the blank and the pieces of wood underneath with the liner already on. So I've got the 5mm pins, which are going to be used to hold the scales on. I clean enough for 2 pins. I'll do that just as I'm about to cut it, because it will always tarnish again afterwards. Make sure I slightly chamfer the end off, so it saves me doing it later. So that's now clean. And also it's put scratchy lines up in order for the adhesive to catch with as it goes in down inside the hole. And I need 2 loads of that much. So beauty 2 grinders. So now when I go to there, I'm ready to drill. You see what I'm doing. Shipboard. I unclamp it and put the pin through. So. Pin's holding everything together, reclamped. I can turn that, just make sure that's, going to be in the best position for a nice grain. I'll drill a second one. And now the bit where you want to get this section finished on the sander. You get your knife, blank, check you can see your etch logo, check it fits, so there's enough room, then you choose your line you're going to do. So it's the first time I've done one of these, so I like that. You could have a template, you put the same one on every time, but this is a one-off, so I ain't get to one-off. I get that done on there, square. And so on. So that's rough on the grinder. Welcome back. Now the next stage is going to be epoxying, gluing in some way the scales on the side of the knife blank. And obviously there's a choice as to what adhesive you're going to use. Now it's not so much the difference in performance or price or brand of the glue, okay, it's how much time and preparation you put into getting the surfaces set up basically to accept the glue and use as adhesive qualities, bonding the two pieces together. So with the metal, you need it clean, thoroughly degreased, keyed in a manner of ways, using a Dremel bit or just spotting with a cobalt drill bit, grinding it using some coarse sandpaper, and then obviously degreasing it again, because you'll have all the grit and dust of the metal and the bits of whatever carbide bit or belt all need to be cleaned off as well. All skeletonized edge, sort of like holes and swirls and all the rest of it that's inside, they all need to be cleaned out. When it comes to like G10 liners, they come when they're manufactured very, very shiny, where you'd have to key that down, scratch that down, indent with a few holes. But you want to keep the holes that you drill on the knife and the holes that you drill into the handle material inside from an edge, just in case when you're grinding off the surface you go too far and open up a hole that you did too close to the edge previously. So when you do the holes, give yourself 3 or 4 mil, okay, in. And it really is the biggest difference you can make is probably not the fact whether you buy pound shop epoxy over really expensive epoxy, because if you use really expensive epoxy and you still got WD-40 on the blade, it's probably not going to work. Whereas if you use cheap arse adhesive and did a really, really good job of preparing your surfaces, then the glue would have opportunity to work. Now that is the biggest sort of magnitude difference that there is on the actual initial bond. Now the brand that you use from then on will then bring its own characteristics and qualities into it. You buy a cheap ass piece of pound shop epoxy resin, it could be really brittle, and one day it'll just come off because it's had a bit of a shock, and eventually it will come away. Whereas if you use quite a resilient rubbery sort of epoxy rather than a brittle glassy type, it could take the shocks and the knocks and the bumps. So it does pay to buy really good adhesive, but it more than really pays to do a hell of a lot of quite well thought out preparation for the surfaces of the handle material and the blade material, so you give the board glue an opportunity to grab onto both sides and lock it together. Right? This is where it being flat works. You don't want great ridiculous convolutions, because you've got a belt with a huge gap in it and you've just pushed it on like that, and there's a big lump on the side of your thing, so it's rocking. That's not going to work because you haven't got an even surface. You know, it's given everything the best chance it can do to give the best performance you can from whatever adhesive you got. So I'll get going on this. Just vaguely, it's the importance of preparation in order to get the most out of the investment that you've made in your adhesive. So hopefully you can see the arrangement I've got here. Acetone. I'm going to thoroughly degrease the blade. I've dremeled inside the skeletonization bits already, so they're all scuffed up and roughed up. You can get a cotton bud into the holes, but that usually does it, and get this as degreased as you possibly can. And next one, I'll show you how I prepare the blade and the scales. Next one again. Just got the Wessex blades. Even then, notice I cleaned it and then grabbed the edge of the blank rather than put my greasy mitts straight back on a bit I just degreased. Oh, these tips and tricks, eh? See you next one.